Now, when John heard in prison about the deeds of the Christ, he sent word by his disciples and said to him, "Are you the one who is to come, or shall we look for another?" And Jesus answered them, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk. Lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear, and the dead are raised up, and the poor have the good news preached to them. And blessed is the one who is not offended by me." Here we find John the Baptist locked up in prison in a dungeon. And as he is in that filthy hole, he hears about the work of Christ in the outside world. And he also needs Christ to come to him and also perform a miracle by taking him out of this prison wherein he's kept. But Christ does not seem to be interested in him. Christ does not seem to want to come his way. Yet, we get that Christ out there, he is helping many people. Many people are singing praises. Many people are happy. But John is not. And John has done nothing for him to be neglected by Christ. There are times in the life of a Christian where you think you are in good terms with God. You try to do it all in a way that God wants it. You play your part to the fullest. Yet when you are faced with calamities, it seems as though that heaven is not interested in you. It seems as though that heaven is not interested in coming to your rescue. And when you look around you, you see people having God work miracles in their lives. You are looking for a job and you do it all as a child of God. You keep all the commandments. You're faithful to God. Yet you look around, even people who do not even pray, by the way, are coming with testimonies to the church. Someone says, "I got a job this week." Someone says, "My wife is pregnant." Someone says, "I got reinstated in that position." And you are sitting there and you're wondering, is this the God that you've been praying to? Is he the one? Can he prove himself now? Or should you now start searching and maybe do things differently? And Jesus sends and says, "Blessed is the one who is not offended by me." Because there is a way in which God does things. And usually the way that God does things is not the way that man expects God to do them. You see, man has usually a set of formulae. Man, in his limited thinking, has a way in which he wants things to be done. And most of us get offended because we sometimes think that God is going to do it in this way or that way, and it does not. We even set up deadlines for God. And that's one thing that we shouldn't do. Do not set up deadlines for God. God is not subject to our calendar. God does not honor desperation. When you are desperate, the implication is that you can accept any help that comes. That does not give God glory. That does not honor God. Yes, being helpless is one thing, but being desperate, it means that faith is no longer there. Because faith says, I do not need it coming just from anyone. It has to come from God. So here we have many Christians who are not happy with how God deals with their situations. You know, some people lose loved ones every now and again. Yet around us there are families who for a long time haven't had anyone to bury among them. There are those who look for jobs, and for a long time they haven't found. Yet there are those who don't even pray, who don't even come to church. God is blessing them with jobs. And you start wondering, is he the one that you thought he was? And then you start questioning, how can he say that he loves me yet he cannot give me what I want? Well, it is no longer faith when you think you can twist God's arm to do what you want. If you do not want to be frustrated, align yourself with the will of God. Frustrated is the person who thinks that through prayer they can pressurize God to deliver them at the time that they want to be delivered. In our dealings with us, God has something also to prove. He has to prove how much He loves. He has also to prove His power. For those who get sick to the point that they die, God still has a move up His sleeve, and that move is resurrection. For those who take long before they get employed, God still has something to prove, that even when He is late, He is still on time. So do not be offended by the way that God does things, by the way that God responds or does not seem to respond to our requests. He is with us. And you know, when you read the text further, it tells you of how much actually heaven considered John to be on a level above all humanity. And he did not know this. He may not have understood it. Sometimes in our weighing ourselves, we may think that we are a nobody, we may think that we are not important, only to find that when heaven looks at us, heaven is proud of the work, of the product that we have become through the work of Christ. Do not be offended in the way that Jesus does things. Align yourself with His will and have peace in Him.
Ngoba mina ngiyamazi uJesu, ngithi